Okay guys, this is my new daily that's not ready to be a daily yet, that I traded my running daily for. So not the brightest move, but it's an 83 Scamp. Same thing as a Rampage. Rampages are rare. These are even more rare. It's not like a good rare. They're not worth anything. It's an L body, so it's the same as the Charger. It's a 2.2 5-speed carbureted. Has the electronic carburetor on it. It's supposed to have the non-electronic one, so the Rampages didn't come with the electronic control thing. It runs pretty good. It starts up pretty good. Watch when I go to start it for you guys, it won't run. But it's got hood pins in it. It's got this goofy little cowl on it. It has gauges in it. You can see that. The oil pressure gauge doesn't work. I put an oil pressure gauge on it. It's got like 60 pounds at idle, so it's got good oil pressure. I don't know what's up with the gauge. Temperature gauge works, but the fan doesn't work. It's got some 4-lug 14s, so I don't know. I'm gonna be able to get tires for it. But the bolt pattern's 4x100, so like all the Hondas here, the 90s had that. So if I wanted wheels, I can find it. But try not to spend money on it. Not a ton of money. I've had to spend money on it, but it's rusty. And I live in Texas now, and I'm from New York, so I know better than to get something rusty. And the tires are all dry rotted. The tires are a little big, so it hits a bump, it caves this fender in. not my smartest move, but see, it's a little pimply up over the wheel well. Back here, stick my finger through it. This is all filled down here. But underneath, it's actually really clean. The bed's not rotted through anywhere. It's like this gray bed liner stuff that's on it. It's fairly straight. I mean, who knows how much fills in it, because obviously it was repainted, but there's the Scamp badge. It's pretty cool. I think these bumpers are ugly though. I don't really like the bumpers on these things. You see the Bondo's crack in there. But yeah, I had a bunch of paint left over, like spray paint, so I just spray painted the bottom of it all different colors just to cover up what was bare. So it looks horrendous. Under there, it looks like a clown car, but you can see down there that's all solid except for the rocker. The rocker's pimply and stuff, but the frame rails, they're all good. There's one tiny little spot that's like 1/8 of an inch, so I'm not really worried about that. It's only got one mirror. The passenger side doesn't have a mirror. I guess that wasn't like government regulated then, or regulations were then. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but you guys probably get the gist. The beautiful red interior. The interior is in really good shape. It's dirty because I'm a slob. It's got this cool little thing back there. It's still got the original tire changing kit, and then I had the owner's manual. I'll show you that. Look at that, printed in the USA. That's Scamp. But the dash is pretty cool. I think so. It's showing 99,000 or 199,000 or 299,000, whatever the hell it is. It's got 2 little cracks in the dash right there, but it's in pretty good shape. Over there is a little weathered, but the seats are in really good shape, as you can see. It's got these weird little seat covers on it. 5-speed. Handbrake still works even. Radio works, kind of. So this is one of the biggest problems, is the wiring in this. So you can see it's just a mess of everything. So the fuse box melted big time. I pulled it out, so I'm gonna try to go to the junkyard and find another fuse box, or just move some stuff around. Not really sure yet, but it runs the way it is. But yeah, that's my biggest problem. Pop the hood. None of the dash lights work or anything like that, so it's not getting power to that, and it doesn't have tail lights or side markers. So I got to figure all that. It wasn't running when I got it. One of the fusible links to the ignition switch, that wasn't hooked up. Hold on. I think it's so funny, the hood prop, like how it's over there. Like, look at the hood, how much flexes in it. There's such... Gotta be careful, I'll rip it off. But yeah, they just had... The other gauge is an amp meter for some reason. They put that in there. But yeah, this is what I had to do, splice these wires together. I'm gonna take these connectors off. They're like Kujek connectors or something. You just solder them. And, well, the solder melts with a lighter. And then that was the fusible link wire that broke. It comes off the main one, like all the old Chryslers. You can see that's the one right there that broke. This is your clutch cable on these. The fans weren't hooked up. I put those connectors on there. It's still not sending power, probably because all this stuff is cut up and stuff like that. And then, so to put this on the block, this is out of a small block. It already has a T, because this is your oil pressure for like if it has it in the dash, then I believe this is what tells the gauge needle to move. And then this one is your oil pressure light. So that's just the switch. And this is leaking, so I need to get another one of those. All the small block ones have a different, they just have the one where it slides on. This is like the threaded one where it pushes on. So I'm gonna have to get one of those. And it didn't have any fuel pressure because the fuel filter is clogged. And it's supposed to be one of the ones where I think it's like the vapor comes out of it and goes up into here. But I had this one just laying around, so I plugged that in. And the fuel lines were backwards on the fuel pump, so swapped those around. So now I got this long hose that goes all the way over there, and then this one cuts back over to the carburetor. I had to swap out the accelerator pump. It came with another carburetor and intake, so I just took that accelerator pump out and swapped in this one because it's leaking, and these aren't a cross flow head, so all the gas just leaks directly onto the exhaust manifold. So I figured that out. And then this was stripped and leaking, so I took I had to get a tap. I think it's 3/8 NPT, and then I put that in. It has another, it looks just like this one that goes over there, but I took that out. I was gonna put it up there, but you can't because it hits the thermostat, so you gotta go down there if you're gonna run like an aftermarket temperature probe. But yeah, then this is like the wrong alternator for it, but I just shimmed it over, as you can see, and then I made my own mount out of some stuff from Tractor Supply and some metal just laying around. Changed the oil. They take an 090 filter, like a small block. Then they had that water pump pulley on backwards, so I flipped that around and then got this all lined up. And then I put a new water pump on it. They actually had it in stock at AutoZone, I was surprised, and this belt. And then I had to take the stud out of this, space it out so I could use the factory harness on it. And then that little guy is just crimped on there. Doesn't even have a nut holding it because I couldn't find any of these nuts because they're the tiny ones and I always lose them. I know I have some laying around here somewhere. Power steering's back here is completely empty. So I topped that off. It doesn't seem to be leaking now. Everything's wet down there, but I think there's enough mud caked in there and grit to keep it from leaking. Had to replace the radiator cap. What else did I do to this sweet thing? This was full of stuff. This is your air cleaner. I had to pull all that. Then there's a pulley that goes there that runs a smog pump, so I took that off, got rid of that. And there's a little plastic cover, took that off. There's just this hose. This, I believe, goes to your smog pump. They just have that plugged. This is directly hooked to your exhaust. But yeah, trying to think what else doesn't work. Most of the stuff doesn't work. I don't think the wipers work. Oh, the linkage fell off, which is common on pretty much any Chrysler stuff. The linkage always falls off. But yeah, I did that. That's what got it running. That wiring right there. I don't know. I still like it. I think it's cool. It'll be fun. It'll be a cool little shop truck. I can put my logo on the back window and drive around, and it'll catch some eyes more in the Dakota. Which, that's what I traded my 95 Dakota with a 318 in it that I re-gasketed and stuff. I don't know if I did a video on that, but that's the one the red one in my prior video where I welded the diff and actually had fun with it. I traded for a non-running one of these. And these are really slow because they don't make 100 horsepower new since it's the carbureted one. I have everything to make it turbo. Like I have the computer and the intake and stuff, but it's set up for rear-wheel drive. So my intake would come out like over here and be right where the power steering pump is. Because normally they come out over here and they sit right here. And then the turbo goes underneath that, obviously, because the exhaust is right below it. But I don't plan on doing that because I just want to drive it, and it's rusty, so there's no point in putting money into it because I live in Texas again. So I shouldn't be having rusty vehicles, but they just find me. I guess it's, I don't know, home calling me or something. But yeah, I'll start it up and you can hear it run. All right, so here's underneath the Scamp. It's pretty clean, especially from being from South Dakota. You see, there was a bunch of sand sitting in here. I vacuumed it out. So right in there, it's starting to rust. And that's just from all the stuff sitting in there because there's a hole, and then that's supposed to drain out of there, but the sand caked it full. This side's pretty clean. I had stuff in there. This side actually had a little mouse nest in there. But the exhaust isn't bad. The shocks aren't fully rotted off it. These are solid. There's no holes anywhere. Still got the brake lines, which I imagine are the original since they have this spring on them. I've never seen like aftermarket ones with it. That's got a big kink in it, so I don't even know if that's working. But the fuel lines, these all look original. Tank looks good. The sending unit goes in. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clean down here. This lower ball joint is shot, so it needs that. The boot's missing off the axle. It doesn't like the spin. I think this brake's sticking a little bit, but the tie rods feel tight. Yeah, so got my new water pump on there. I think these tires are a little bit too big because when it hits a bump, I think it caved that in. You can see it's all crushed, but it's all solid through there. You can see the rockers. They're crusty, but they're not like all the way through, and it's bubbling everywhere. Well, that's a hole. That's a hole. I just made a hole. But it's not great, especially for living in Texas. I told myself I wasn't gonna get a rusty car again, but here we are. But then back here is real bad. Just all sand up in there, so that's what rots it out. Go over to this other side. The muffler rotted out, but I mean, muffler's gonna rot out anywhere. That's all filled, covered apart. Back here, there's some up on the silver, but this rocker is pretty much the same as the other side. But bottom of the fender is good. Rocker's doing the same thing. Bottom of this fender is good. So pretty much anywhere where stuff didn't sit, it's still fine, but it's not terrible. It's definitely not good for Texas standards, but here we are. It's my problem now. When the battery wants to work, it'll start pretty good, but we'll see. I didn't pump it. The gas gauge does work, I'm pretty sure, because I put some gas in it and it raised up a little bit. So I don't know if it works all the way, because I put like 5 gallons in it and it was like just barely above the E. So it's probably like a 10 or 11 gallon tank, I'm guessing. This is also hanging down, which I have to glue it in. The cat was gutted, and then they just started cutting it off, and I guess they realized that it was gutted, so then they didn't take it. So it's just got holes cut in it, and whoever patched it up after they took the guts out of it did an awful job. But you hear it's rutted pretty rough, but it's pretty gold. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this, my new gem. I'm pretty pumped about it. You can probably tell how excited I am from my voice, but I don't know, there's just something about these. I grew up with a Rampage. That's on my channel too. My dad's is turbo and way nicer, but it's not too far gone to save, but I also don't want to save it. I don't like doing body work, and I'm not good at doing body work, so that's why I don't like doing it. But yeah, let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Grow the channel, so then maybe I could have more money to put into this thing.